we've done it. We've beaten one of Kojima's greatest games, Snatcher.
And that's saying a lot. I mean, his games are almost universally good.
Yeah, it's extremely impressive. I've said this before, but this visual novel game is unlike a lot of others in that there's almost always something going on in the screen regarding movement of all sorts. And actually, speaking of which, going back, this is going way back to the end of Act 1. Remember when we were looking into Freddy and Lisa, the cab driver, and his wife? The thing about Lisa, I pointed out that she didn't blink. One thing I should point out about that is that we recorded all of Part 1, so 8 installments in one long marathon session.
Yeah.
So we were taking a chill, we were taking a little bit of a break between Parts 7 and 8. We didn't realize that 8 would be the last one. So while we were doing that, we were just kind of hanging out and leaving the screen on there, and we noticed that there was no movement on the screen.
And it's really unusual for almost any screen in the game.
Yeah, so the fact that nothing was going on, in fact, meant that something was going on, which was a really cool touch.
Yeah, it's an obvious cue that she's a Snatcher, because the Snatchers don't often blink, I guess.
And again, it's of particular interest because normally it would be like any other visual novel game. I haven't really seen many where the characters are always animated and everything like that. Not that I've played so many, but with Corpse Party Book of Shadows, it was character art. Maybe their mouths will change when they get angry or something, but actual animation was not a thing that happened, so it was really interesting to see.
Yeah, even at the end where Elijah is tapping his finger, I really just love that. Just little touches like that. I really love that walking sign that we pointed out. It's just makes the game feel more alive, and you don't expect it because it's expensive to do that.
And one thing you were mentioning regarding parallelism between Harry and Gillian's relationship, if you could call it that, they were rather separated, but also with Elijah and his father's relationship, how they sort of paralleled each other. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it might have been the position that Random had his father in, that final moment where he was going to break his neck. That's exactly the way that Freddy was going to kill you before Random came in to save your life.
Wow.
Which was kind of awesome, because that was that moment where you couldn't shoot him because you were in the shot and it wouldn't make sense. And all of a sudden he just shows up from behind and blows the guy's head off. But here he is doing the same thing, only this time it's happening for a heroic purpose, which is pretty cool.
And I would also point out that, again, Harry died in Gillian's arms. Kind of like that too.
Very much so.
So Random having Elijah in his arms like that while he dies is another motif. Even if it's not supposed to be directly symbolic of anything, it's certainly a motif. The Random is essentially his father's intentions animated. So it is his father essentially taking his own son down.
And what I also do kind of again, regarding the position he was in with the neck, is that it's full circle, because that's the last time you see Random in the game. That's how he goes out.
Yeah.
But when Freddy has you by the neck, that's Random's first appearance. It was Freddy doing it and not Random, but that's how you meet him, with that same thing going on. It was kind of cool how they sort of
flip-flopped
that in there.
Yeah,
I really got a kick out of that.
It's really great. I just love everything about this game, and the more I play it, and this has been either my 4th or 5th time playing it, I find out something new. I found out a couple things just by watching this because I'm scouring it. So, in talking about it with Lotus here, we just are able to find a little bit more every single time.
This is my second time going through it, but even so, the very, as you say, the very fact that we're LPing it allows us to notice things, because normally when we were first playing it, it was because Vias was showing me the game because he was really excited about it, take a look at this, and I'm like, alright, so we're going through the walkthrough to save time, with allowing for a little exploration, but you're just going through the game. In this, when we take time to discuss things, that's when you start noticing. Lisa never blinked. That's when Vias noticed that one crossroads where there's the do not walk, the red, yellow, green sign, it was actually going through the cycles. They took the extra effort to put that into the game. And by the way, I think we mentioned this way back in installment 2, but there are parts that we didn't show you. We went to Jordan and we looked up Hideo Kojima. You could also look up various other Konami employees at that time, just for a little extra information about them, I suppose. Even we have not done that, so we don't even know what there is to see about that. But food for thought. That like the game still has more information. It's a Kojima game, so you know it's chock full of Easter eggs. The ones we found with that fortune teller, the one we found with the Snatcher, except there wasn't really a Snatcher, with the fake game over screen, the ramen seller, the Neo Kobe pizza, those were not easy to find. You really had to be investigating just to see if anything happens, like a changed message. And when you finally do discover it, they reward you with an amusing little skit. It's great.
Yeah, I didn't. One of my favorite scenes in the game is the Neo Kobe pizza skit, and I love that. But I didn't find that out until like the last time I played it with Lotus here. So
yeah, and even then it's because the walkthrough mentioned it. I wouldn't have just found that.
Yeah,
and because it was so secret, that and the ramen salesman, they reward you with a fully voice acted character portrait animated sketch. And even with the Neo Kobe pizza, with Gillian's disappointed face, that was a shot that you never see anywhere else in the game. It's like they took effort to draw that for that one secret moment most people probably wouldn't even see.
Yeah, I just love little touches like that. I mean, also they had to pay a voice actor to play an extra character. I mean, like that's the narrator. I mean, he was billed twice. I mean, if he had any kind of credentials or anything like that in voice acting, which I'm sure he did, he would have gotten paid for both.
That is definitely true. And what's also kind of interesting is that unlike, well, I mean, I don't know how much emphasis was put on the voice actors, but like, maybe I'm wrong about this, I may very well be, but did games really credit their voice actors back then?
No, and in fact, credits in games didn't get very good until like the Super Nintendo. The credits that are shown in this game are actually, the people who actually worked on it. But if you play like an older, even Konami game like Contra, for instance, there's all kinds of pseudonyms and things like that. So
that's true.
Getting
like Mega Man,
getting actual credit for your work didn't really come about until like late NES era and things like that for a lot of creators. Now, voice actors, I'm reasonably sure they've always gotten credit because they have to be like they're part of the union. They're part
especially
of
for this game. They are the game.
Yeah. They have unions, so for that kind of thing. So I'm reasonably sure for voice acting on CD based games, they typically are credited.
Yeah, and actually one thing that you pointed out to me before we got on camera, you know those pictures they showed in the credits of the characters, and then that motif at the very end with all 5 of them together? That's on the back of the box in full watercolor color action, which is pretty awesome to see. So
yeah,
this little teaser before we even start.
Watercolor thing there, I love that. It shows up a little bit better than the pixel art even, and I really like that. And it was in that like sepia tone.
Actually, you know what I'm just realizing? Let me show you the back one more time. Get a load of this. I've only done this once before for Fatal Frame 1. See that? This game is rated teen.
Yeah. I actually didn't expect that. I mean, that should also tip you off that this is a very late release. It isn't Sega's own rating system, which had like GA instead of everyone. But I would think with with the amount of animated blood and gore and the violence,
there were some nasty scenes,
especially with Alice and John Jack Gibson. I mean, John Jack as Gibson
with his head in his lap, and with that one body with the maggots crawling over the face.
Yeah,
I mean, those weren't a big part of the game, but you can't avoid those. You will see them, and they're really nasty. Can you imagine, like, the parent walks in and sees the kid playing at that particular moment? How could that be rated teen? Fatal Frame got away with it because there was a lot of nastiness, but it was implied. It always cut away from the action just before it happened, so you saw it in your head, but it wasn't actually there. So they sort of found a loophole. This game just goes right up and shows it, and it still gets the T rating.